Okay, great.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. My name is Vanessa Natali. I'm chair of the Open Government Advisory Group. The time is 1:02 or 13:02 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. Due to the pandemic and also scheduling, we are meeting virtually via the platform Teams. This meeting is being conducted in adherence to the District of Columbia Open Meetings Act. First order of business is to establish a quorum. So I'll do a roll call. When you hear your name, say present, please. If you're a designee, please state your name for the record. Okay. Vanessa Natali, present. Nikel Allen, Cherie DeBerry from DC, Director of Open Government and Board of Ethics and Government Accountability.
Present.
Thank you. Renako Alsop from OAG. Robert Becker. And then for Executive Office of the Mayor Designee, that is now, I believe, Vanessa Carrero.
No, Vanessa's actually with the
She
under
be
her
OGC?
shop. OGC.
Oh, so
So
Erica
that
Satterley? Should we do? Who wants to?
I think I'm
Erica's-
DemPeds.
Yeah, we have
I'm
you with
into-
DemPed, Erica.
Yeah.
That right
Oh,
now
all right.
is vacant, Vanessa.
Oh, all right. Sorry, guys. Ronnie Dampier. Caroline Fischerow.
Present.
Thanks, Caroline. Van Freeman. Shelley Vanneman, Michelle Vanneman.
Present.
Thank you, Shelley. Julia Hudson.
Present.
Thank you, Julia. Get rid of vague. Helder Gill, who never comes. Okay. Stephen Miller.
Present.
Thanks, Stephen. Catherine Pettit. Earl Rodriguez.
Present.
Erica Satterley.
Present.
And now, actually, you, Vanessa Carrero. I'm sorry, I called you early. Manya Shore. Kyle Spears. David Sang. And Zach Walter.
Present.
I believe, is that 12, Julia?
I'm gonna count them up quickly, Vanessa, and if not, then we may need to have someone say present that's also on the phone. I mean, on the line that we didn't see, that didn't indicate previously. But let me check quickly, please. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we're currently at 10 and we need 12, but I know that we also have Cherie on the line as well as Helen that would help with the other two. So if you want to call on them so that they can say present.
Oh, I thought I called on Cherie.
Well, Cherie wouldn't have.
Oh, Cherie DeBerry.
Present.
Thanks, Cherie. And was it who else am I supposed to call, Julia?
Helen Mcclure.
Oh, hi, Helen. Helen Mcclure.
Present.
And I see Monica Swintz on there. Hi, Monica. Are you here?
I am present.
Oh, yay.
Okay, so Madam Chair, you have met the requirement with 12 members being present to meet your quorum.
Fantastic. So there are 12 members present and we have a quorum to conduct business. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Now let's figure out what we want to do. So let's go on to adoption of the agenda. I know it was kind of general, but it's been posted on the website. Does anybody have any changes or suggestions? Okay, hearing none. I move that we adopt it by unanimous consent. Any objections? Okay, the agenda is adopted. Okay, is there any public witnesses here that are not part of our usual gang? Do you see anybody else, Julia?
No, I haven't seen anyone outside of our committee.
Okay. I mean, we usually go on with the introduction of members. I know there's some that have been here for a while. How about, let's go on to Vanessa. It's her first OGAG meeting, which we don't like that OGAG part. Vanessa, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and where you're currently located in DC government?
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Vanessa Carrero, Deputy General Counsel in EOM. You probably worked with my predecessor, Karuna. We've been here actually almost about a year now, so I think I'm a little late to the party, but I'm happy to be here. Before EOM, I was at DCRA for a couple of years, and before that, I was with the federal government. So thrilled to be here. Glad to see we have a quorum.
Yeah. Thank you, Vanessa. I'm trying to think of anybody else who we don't really. Hey, Shelley, would you mind telling us about yourself too?
Sure. I am the administrator of the Concealed Pistol Licensing Review Board. We're a 12-member board of mayoral-appointed officials who hear administrative hearings. They're like mini trials of persons who are the subject of adverse actions by the chief of the MPD. A concealed pistol license may be suspended, revoked, or an application denied. And if they allege a material fact and dispute, they get a trial before our board. Petitions for review from that are filed directly with the DC Court of Appeals. So I've been here for several years now, and it's nice to see you all.
Thanks, Shelley. Also, Helen, can you just say hi and tell us what you do over there at EOM?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Helen Mcclure. I'm a program analyst in the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice. I've been here for 4 years now. And I just took over FOIA like this week. I think is why Lindsay put me on here.
And just for full disclosure, with me over my day job is Deputy Director of the Mayor's Office of Legal Counsel. I'm lucky enough to have Julia as our Chief of Staff, but regarding anything open government, our office handles appeals of FOIA decisions that agencies make. So that's where you kind of hear from people from our office in case anybody knows. Okay, so I just want to thank everybody again for coming. So,
Vanessa, I'm sorry. I think that this is Earl Rodriguez's first meeting as
it
well.
is. I feel like I know Earl already. I'm sorry. Earl, tell us all about yourself.
Good evening, team. I currently work at the Pentagon for the Secretary of the Air Force in the executive office. I am the travel planner for him. And prior to that, I used to work for the Department of Treasury in International Affairs Office for 4 years there. So, and then I retired from the United States Army. That's Earl.
Thank you, Earl. Thank you for your service. I'm from an Army family, so thank you. Let me see. So I can't tell you how happy we are that we actually can talk today, but regarding what are we going to talk about, what do we want to do, or any kind of goals we have, hopefully for our next meeting that we can do. I was thinking about what can we do to make suggestions to the mayor to improve, clear, fix open government issues. Now, mostly us in government here, we deal with FOIA, working with FOIA. So one of the things I was thinking about previously, a couple meetings ago, was suggestions any of us have with regarded to updating our FOIA regulations. Now, updating could mean adjusting, changing, deleting, anything you think, to maybe bring them in line with the federal government, including the response times. And I know we've had issues with response times due to the pandemic, because I mean, no one predicted how difficult it would be to kind of get some things done that wouldn't have been that hard. And some agencies as well have a difficult time getting it together. So that was something I was thinking about. So as an assignment, I was going to look at our FOIA regs for DC and then look at the federal and see if there's anything we can maybe take from there or adjust in ours. And I'd encourage any of you to do that as well. I think that's, I wouldn't say easy, but that's a nice beginner for a suggestion for the mayor for maybe how to make our FOIA responses and responsibilities clearer. Does anybody else have any ideas about what we can do? What can we suggest to our mayor, to the executive office of the mayor and whatnot to make FOIA more accessible, or whatever your opinion is of open government?
Vanessa, this is Shelley. It's been a while since I've done a FOIA, but when I did about a year ago, I remember compiling a list of those ideas. So I can dig those up and get them to you. Also, I work daily pretty much with Renako because she's the OAG counsel to the board, and her primary duties involve FOIA, and she had ideas too, especially during the emergency. Of course, I can't remember a single one of them off the top of my head, but I put on my notes to go back and look at those.
Oh, thank you, Shelley. And then we'll put that on the agenda for our next meeting, which we will have soon, so we can do that. Shelley, regarding the matters you handle, are there, like, it's the concealed pistol, licensing, are there privacy redaction issues with regard to those matters?
Yeah, well, when I first started a few years ago, the office had been routinely giving out redacted decisions to this one lawyer who kept asking for them. But the FOIA, the law actually prohibits any disclosure of any of them. So none of these decisions are all disclosable. They're completely protected. I had been doing, I mean, DNPSJ doesn't get many FOIAs. The ones that we did were all for MPD. They're few and far between. The most often one we get is the FOIA of FOIAs, give us all the FOIAs that you've gotten, which is kind of a lazy journalism tactic, I think. The ones we have gotten that have been substantive have been, for example, well, we used to do the ONES FOIAs. So the Office of Neighborhood and Safety Engagement, and they would get a lot of FOIAs on who they were giving grants to and how they selected those grants and why did people not get the grants and things like that. So those are the kinds of FOIAs that DNPSJ usually gets. And we have this weird thing where we're under EOM, so if they're FOIA'd as well, they're going to get our responsive documents anyway.
Oh, that's interesting. I had no idea your decisions are all like confidential.
Yeah, completely protected. Yeah. You can't even give out redacted ones.
So we can't look up and see who has a concealed pistol license in the district?
No.
Yeah, see, I have no idea. I didn't even know that was like a controversial. I assumed you could, but okay, good.
I mean, MPD obviously has the list. And also, we wouldn't have that. We only have people who are denied or revoked.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Or suspended.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. So we'll put your what you mentioned about suggestions. We'll put it on our next agenda. So thank you.
Renako just texted, extend the time for responses from 15
Okay,
to
well, I'll
20.
do whatever she wants. She's an old pal from OAG too. So I think
second that.
Okay, Other Vanessa, what do you say?
No, the response time is proving to be, we are doing our best to catch up post remote work, post staffing issues, but the timelines just are making it really difficult.
I have to agree with that, but I know that is maybe not in line with open government. But most of the stuff that is holding up is really just getting the information. It's not like withholding it mostly.
Yeah, I hear the concern about the optics of extending the timeline, how that could be perceived as a non-open government principle, but we have to reconcile that with the reality of we're not meeting these timelines. So shouldn't folks, in the spirit of open government, have a realistic timeline given to them when they file a FOIA request.
What's the federal timeline? Is it also 15 days?
Longer.
I think
I
it's
just took
20
the
20 or
10
25 days.
Yeah,
mean,
it's 20 or
I just
25, and then
took
there's an
the-
automatic.
The FOIA
Extension.
Express training, and we used a dummy account that was set to federal, and it's 20 days in that test system. So
And
federal
in our
is
board,
definitely
in our board report, we recommended Vega that the mayor extend that time. So that falls in line with that. And our best practices report,
What was the extent to 20?
to make it align with the feds.
Okay.
Isn't there an extension, like a pretty pro forma extension possible under the feds?
I think that's right. I think it's 15 days instead of the 10 that we have now. Which, I mean, in all honesty, like 20 business days when, you know, DemPed gets fewer FOIAs than we did when I was EOM's FOIA officer, but most of ours are still email searches, which if, you know, you're asking for an email, a broad search, you know, 10 years, any person that's ever worked at DemPed, like a lot of times it's thousands and thousands of emails that have to be gone through. And I think another thing that's important to keep in mind is, you know, I'm DemPed's FOIA officer, but I'm also our legislative director. And there are a lot of things that just, quite frankly, I know this is for most people that serve as FOIA officers, it's not your only job. And most days, I think it's not the #1 priority on your to-do list, which is difficult when you do continuously get these requests that you really do just need to sit down and dedicate time to going through thousands of emails too. And a lot of times it's just not possible to get it done, and certainly not in the 15 days. I mean, I think the 20 days is still not enough. I don't know what the right number is, but so yeah, that's my rambly way of saying I agree with the extension to get this in line with the feds.
Yeah, and I hate how it makes it like people, you know, the outside thinks that are requesters that we're just not, we just don't want to do them, or we're just lazy or whatever. It's a lot. And I even remember when I did them at the agency I was at, you know, you have to put it in and send it to Octo. Octo's busy too. Like, right, Stephen? Like, I mean, how, like, it does Octo, we put in, we'd like it sooner rather than later. And then, you know, that's difficult too, because they have other work as well.
And I'm wondering if there's a way to streamline them when a requester submits multiple requests to multiple agencies. I mean, we have the weird problem where we're under an umbrella, so we're automatically going to be, whenever this one gets it, it's automatic. But, you know, I know there was coordination with the January 6th FOIAs and the homeless FOIAs. I think the more coordination, then the less work for everyone.
Yeah, the coordination is a bit of a double-edged sword. I think the coordination for all of us as a team does reduce the work on the team as a whole. But then, you know, being often as EOM in the coordinator role, it actually ends up being sort of more work for us than just processing the FOIA that came across our desk. That being said, I think it's worthwhile, and I think it's a good use of resources, but just flagging for this group that we may have the ask every once in a while for someone else to be a coordinator who maybe you're on the group of folks who have gotten the FOIA request, but you're not the primary one. And the ask is coming from that place of, as the OM, we're often the coordinator, and it is resource intensive for us.
And I would assume you probably get a lot of duplicates too.
Oh, so many. And to Erica's point of the thousands of emails, we've got these really broad FOIA requests, which is no surprise to anyone here. And one thing that we've been trying to get a little bit better at is engaging with requesters at the outset, right? When their request comes in, to really figure out what they're getting at and try to narrow the search significantly. So we've had some luck with, to Erica, your example of like, I want everyone in DemPed for the last 10 years. Well, okay, you're fine, you can get that, but it's going to take us a long time, and it's going to go to the bottom of the list because of resources. So, you know, what do you really want? Do you want just a few persons' email accounts? Do you want 5 years instead of 10 years? Anything we can do to narrow we've been making some progress. Those things are also taking time though. those conversations take a lot of time. People are not, just like FOIA is not our first job, a lot of these FOIA requesters take a week or two to get back to us. And so we stop the clock, but it just makes it difficult to, bounce from FOIA to FOIA to get something actually cleared from the backlog.
I was thinking that maybe if anybody had, a few minutes or whatever, we could start putting together maybe a best practices for exactly what Vanessa was talking about, because when I would handle FOIA, I would always try to, it would start very wide and like how do you engage with the requester without making them feel like you don't want to give that you're not hearing them and what they're looking for? How do you properly talk to them without them thinking you're trying to skirt them away from, one thing and not the other? What are like best practices and like questions you put in an email? Here's generally what I ask everyone. How do you say, what exactly are you looking for when they, something like that?
Yes, with the reality of the motivation for asking those questions is exactly the opposite. We're trying to get them exactly what they want.
Right. Yeah, maybe we can put together like even a little script for when we are our agency has a FOIA, and the script is like, okay, this is how we get to what you really are looking for. This agency doesn't have this, the grants are actually kept in this agency, that kind of thing. And what exactly, actually thinking about that, what happens, do any of you have experience and you get a FOIA and your agency doesn't have it? What is the best practice there? Like, I don't have it. And then do you suggest where you think it is? What do you guys do?
Yeah, I can speak to that because it happens in DemPed a lot, but it also happened when I was in EOM. Because I think by default, EOM gets a lot of requests. They don't know where it should go. They're like, oh, the mayor's office probably has it. Let's send it to that one. If it's something that's really obvious or like that we know, kind of in DemPed, we get kind of a few buckets. People will want some kind of zoning records, a lot of which are like public anyway. So we kind of just have some links we can default send people to the zoning commission or DCRA's website if they want some sort of permits for projects. We do offer suggestions of other agencies that may have the records, and in our closeout letters, we always try to frame it as we don't guarantee you that they're going to have it, but given the nature of your request, these agencies may be worth submitting a FOIA request to. And then, we'll include like the link to the website or the contact information or something like that. I find that requesters are generally kind of receptive to that. They appreciate the help. It gets a little frustrating on their end. I can see when it's like that happens several times, because sometimes they're looking for something that no one has, and then they just bounce around from agency to agency for a while. But that's generally what we do, because we do get a lot of requests for stuff that isn't actually DemPed, and we also are now in the unique position with EOM that my boss is also Vanessa's boss. So he has one email address, but two roles that he's serving. So that it's a little fun to handle sometimes, to make sure, because there are, two distinct roles in a lot of ways.
I actually like what you said about, what the letter says. I mean, is that something like, Helen, you said you just took the class, like the FOIA. Do we have a form letter, because we want these people, the requesters, contact with us, the government, to be positive, even though we can't give it to them. Like, I hear you, here's where I think it could be, and this is how you do it. Do they do that in the FOIA Express training?
Yes, yeah, you can get form letters put in. You're supposed to send them to Tang to put in.
Okay.
And he can put them in for you, is what I understood from the class. But I wanted to also piggyback on what Erica said, because even though I just took the class and I just took over FOIA for DMPSJ, I've been filling in, doing FOIA for OCA since September. And it's about to get taken away from me because they just hired a new attorney advisor. So I'm very excited about that. But OCA gets the same thing as EOM, like just all sorts of like, you know, I want the, you know, all of the property information on this property. It's like OCA doesn't have that, you know. And so there is, when I was trained in a very, very like hurried manner, like, oh, I'm leaving tomorrow. You're taking over FOIA. Okay, great. Here's how you do it. Here's all the form letters you need. Here's the, you know, basics of FOIA Express. Go for it. It's kind of the training I got. And oh, and here's my phone number in case you have any questions. So I, you know, I've been fumbling my way through it, but some of the form letters are really good that
Oh, good.
OCA has been using. It's very much that same like, you know, thank you so much. But, you know, we're not the right office for this. We would suggest that you go to such and such an office. You can put in a FOIA through the FOIA portal. Here's the link. You know, and it's, yeah, I think it's a really good.
No, that makes sense, Helen. Okay, so hey, Van. Van's late to the party, but here.
Hi, yes, kind of late to the party. Had to get back on the bandwagon. I'll lower my hand in a second, but I had kind of a question for the group. Kind of it's an ignorance question, but it'll help inform like my follow-up. Do we have a district-wide system for FOIAs? Like a JIRA, like if you have a problem with the website, somebody submits a ticket like, hey, I got an issue. Do we have a district-wide FOIA system
FOIA
for FOIA requests?
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, FOIA Express.
Okay, I was just making sure there wasn't anything else. Secondly, the other thing was I heard earlier that people were discussing time limits as far as like 20 days, 15 days. I thought the federal was like 30. That's what I remember when I was in. I could be completely wrong because I used to handle FOIAs for COM. Again, I could be completely wrong on that. So that was one thing as far as like understanding the timeline. But going back to the FOIA Express question, or my earlier question about FOIA Express and just having a system, do we do any analytics behind the request in order to create formulaic responses? So if there is that one of like, hey, you know, trying to find property issue questions, it's a property issue, I'm going to send you the basic links to the website. If this does not resolve your issue, you know, please clarify. That type of analytics, but also that allows some of the FOIA requests addressed quickly, kind of like frequently asked questions, as opposed to having someone sit there on top of each and every question. That was my 2 cents.
Thank you, Van. So I think for homework, we all should probably, I'll get it. We'll get the, whoever grabs it first, the federal FOIA statute, send it around. And then maybe for the next meeting, we can all talk about what, you know, especially with the timelines or any other adjustments. Now regarding
hey, Vanessa, one quick question. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, and maybe you or Julia actually know. So I know at one point, I'll say several versions of Mulk ago, like there was an actual, like there was a red line, like a draft. I think it was Melissa Tucker and Bijan Hughes who had like created an actual like markup of the regs. Does that still exist? Because if it does, it could be a good starting point.
Oh, you know what? It may. I actually I talked to Melissa yesterday, and I think, you know, I'll look on our drive and see.
And this was really probably good. Like 4 or 5 years ago at this point, but I remember seeing something at some point that may be a good starting point. It may, you know, it may be outdated at this point, but could be helpful to start from.
Well, that's a good point, Erica.
Yeah, if that might be something if we get it, we'll send that around with actually the current statute or whatever. Carly, yes, thank you.
Yeah, no
Erica
problem.
will dig in the vault. I'm sorry, Carly. All right.
No problem. So I want to reiterate one word I heard from Helen, which is fumbling around. or I guess it's a phrase. That's how I feel when I think about FOIA. So I'm not our FOIA officer. I don't want to be our FOIA officer. I don't want to even be in FOIA Express. Lovingly, I know this is being recorded. I appreciate open government, but I think one of the reasons that I struggle so much with like helping our office complete our FOIA requests is because it feels like there are 7 people in all of district government who actually know how FOIA works from start to finish, and 2 of them are on this call: Erica Satterley and probably Vanessa, maybe you. But like when you go to a 2-day training and it's all on FOIA Express and it's pretty good on the system, but there's like that only gets you through the first 25% of FOIA. And there's no training on what you do after you get through that part. There's no training on how you, to my knowledge, there's no training on like how you determine whether things are publicly available, or who redacts things, or how you get emails and do email searches. I mean, I know you go to Octo, right? But you have to go to a human being who's really good at FOIA, and that's Erica and Tanette, in order to understand anything that happens after the 2-day training. And to me, that's pretty problematic for many of our offices who are like trying to train up FOIA officers. We're asking people who know only fragments of the system to provide a holistic training to people so that they can respond. So even if the timelines increase to 30 days, if there's any FOIA transition in our office, there's nobody who you can train up or even do that. Like, I also got that rushed. Here's my phone number. Here's what I know. Contact Fang training as well. And there's a big sections of it in which nobody is leading district-wide training. And if you don't have a lawyer on your team, you don't know the tricks and the trades, and you actually just quite frankly don't know what you do after you get to.
And that's I can hear it. It's very frustrating. And I guess we should
I also-
probably think about that.
I also think there's
we've done a training in the past, but I'm sorry, go ahead, Carly.
No, I was gonna say, I think there's also just a few, like, potentially, they're not simple, nothing simple, but like, I think like having customized form letters that we all use across the government, rather than me like we all know that we need one that's like, we've received your FOIA request. Thanks so much. Like, we all need one of those. We all need you sent it to the wrong office. Thank you so much. We all need give us some time. We're stopping the clock so we can determine there's publicly available data. We all need those. There's no reason why I've got to create them and load them into the system. Helen's got to create them. Stephen, like, that's really simple. We could all have the same ones. We also could all have, we could determine, like, is there a FOIA officer team whose job it is to be dedicated FOIA officers? We don't need 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, but like 10 in the government who can step in to provide the training, who can answer questions, whose sole job it is to do FOIA. And then when someone leaves or transitions out, then one of the team of FOIA officers could step in, so that there would be continuity of services. So I just think there's some like practical sort of like operational suggestions that aren't that expensive, that would, but if we had a team of people whose full-time job it was to actually do FOIA on behalf of building a FOIA system, then they would make these form letters. They would, they would do some things that I think would benefit everybody for a while. So that's my non-FOIA experience suggestion.
I think
You
Melissa
can
Tucker
call
did
us
do
at
that
Office of
training.
Open Government. That's what we do. So you can certainly call on us if you need training, if you need materials. I mean, that's what part of what we offer.
I think
And
thank you, Nicole. I think
Great.
what I'll torture Nicole, because I've been doing that. And I'll see if we can put
always a
something.
pleasure to talk to you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
I was gonna say that doesn't sound very ethical. No
Well,
pressure.
yeah, but I'm being transparent. I torture her. Okay. I think I can do that, and maybe her and I can put together something we can send to the group, and then we can talk about it the next meeting. But maybe some of those forms, and then maybe you can give them, I can find the FOIA officers or whoever does things the most. So I agree. Why should you have to want to look? Like, there should be something for whoever's doing FOIA in whatever agency. Here's what you do. When you don't have it, you do this. When you have it, you do this. this is how you do the Octo searches, something like that. And I don't remember, this is a question maybe for Stephen at Octo. When I used to do a long time ago Octo searches, and it was, I think you had to be like approved, right? Like, do we have to be like approved people to do your, I assume the answer is yes, because I remember it would be through the general counsel or some, is that how it works?
Yes, that's how it works. You have to be approved through the general counsel, and then that's the only way that you can actually put it in the search requests themselves. Yeah.
So do you,
And
if
then
you get
the
approved,
requests are vetted separately, but the individual is vetted initially.
okay, so we need to get, if anybody is not vetted, we need to get them on a whatever to get vetted to be able to do it for their agency, right?
Yes, and there's different search types. There's investigation search type, so you'll be vetted for that, but then there's the FOIA search type as well.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought, because I remember the one I had was investigation and only general counsels could do that. Like probably Helen, Helen, are you already able to go into Octo and request your FOIAs?
Yes, I got that while the person I was taking over from was still here. So
Okay,
he
all right.
like emailed and did whatever to get me on that.
Hey, Zach, what are you thinking? You look like you're thinking, maybe, are we boring? Yeah, what do you think about this? Are we being difficult with dealing with public requesters?
No, not bored. No. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, not bored at all. I'm related to the person who was saying she's glad she's not involved in FOIA. I used to do FOIA for the council and no longer do. But enjoying the conversation.
Okay.
Council's a little different because we don't use FOIA Express. We don't do our searches through Octo. So I feel a little bit out of the club on this, but
That's actually interesting to know. I didn't know you don't do your searches through Octo.
yeah, we just don't post their email, so we don't. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
we just
the
work
feds,
directly with
do
them.
the feds host your emails? Is it like a federal or you have your own?
No, we have our own IT department. So we just
Oh.
work with our IT department to run the searches. So it's I think it's a lot less formal than what I'm hearing from you guys. We just shoot them an email and just kind of it's very informal. But yeah, I mean, we deal with a lot of the same concerns of like, they have other stuff going on in their office. And so, we're always trying to be like, hey, like any progress on this email search, things like that. But yeah, it's like a very different system we have in place.
Okay. No, thank you. I'm glad I picked on you because I didn't know that actually. So thank you. I mean, I think one thing I can promise to do for our next meeting is, stalk Nickel, get some stuff, put it together, and then we can send it out. But I'd also like any of you who have good samples, good whatever, send it, and then maybe we put them together and then we can pick out one that is, the best or the better, in Word, hopefully. And then we can kind of send it to the group, to help or make it available to anybody else like that Nickel is training or whatnot. And I do like the idea of best practices, hopefully from some of your mistakes, because that's the only time you really learn how you should have done it. So maybe if anybody could have some, oh, look what I did, and this was totally wrong, and then I had to do this. I mean, that's how we get better. So I kind of like that idea as well. And then back to what Van was saying about like an analytics or anything. I don't know about anything that goes behind FOIA Express besides the fact that you can FOIA someone else's FOIA and their responses. Isn't that correct? I believe so. Yeah. So
yeah, we get those routinely, and those seem to be very time consuming. That could be streamlined somehow. I don't know how.
Okay, well, you work on that, Shelley,
Okay.
amongst all your other work. But no, I think that, hopefully for our next meeting, we can get together and talk about stuff like what Carly and Erica and Vanessa, like kind of practical ways to handle this gigantic task sometimes of the request. And maybe to help each other when that happens, especially within EOM. You're right, you have a lot of different, they might be going to the same ones, and maybe we can help the requester with regarding that. Oh, I see Mr. Mulhauser joined on. You're one of our public people. Hi, Mr. Mulhauser. Oh, we can't hear him. Okay, so well, Mr. Mulhauser, if you get volume or voice or whatever, feel free to jump in. Okay, all right, that's it. But anything else anyone wants to talk about that maybe we can, start working on and then discuss a little bit more, flesh it out for the next meeting? I mean, I think we talked about aligning DC's maybe suggestion, aligning our FOIA statute with the federal statute, having kind of a step-by-step what to do when you receive a FOIA request, and when you don't have this, you do this. And the sample letters to the requesters to kind of explain to them the process, what's going on, or maybe help them find what they're looking for. Does that sound okay?
Can I offer an open meetings rather than FOIA suggestion to talk about?
Of course.
Because that is something else I've encountered in my 4 years in DMPSJ, is that I am administrative support for a commission. I don't remember what they are, but I think that's one thing I didn't get trained in either, is open meetings and how do I do that? I mean, I did get a very, very brief training, like half an hour from Corona back in the day. This is what you need to do. This is what you shouldn't do. And that was it. But I think I've definitely seen, like, the way that you opened this meeting, Vanessa, is not what I've seen before. And then in the group that I support. And I've heard other things from people who support other committees and commissions and boards that sound very different. So I feel like that's something, and something that if it could be offered without asking for it, I think that's a big thing with both the FOIA training and with open meetings training. If it could just be like, hey, this is coming up, come to it if you can. If this is something that affects your job, please come, rather than like I have to like email Nicole and say, hi, I do this, can you help me? I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, open government is FOIA and also the meetings and probably other things. So I will on my list of things to bug Nicole about, it may be like a quick primer on open government meetings. I remember at one point when I used to have in open meetings, you can put a little script together to make sure that certain things are done and said. When you close, you do this, you have to vote to reopen. It's stuff like that, that if you don't do it all the time, you may forget. And Nicole was, as usual, very helpful. So maybe we'll put together something like that, if that would help you, Helen.
And
Yeah,
Helen,
that would be
on our
very
website,
helpful.
we have parliamentary procedure training that you can look at. We also have an Open Meetings Act video that gives a whole overview. But it seems like what you're looking for is probably more along the parliamentary procedure lines. And I don't know if you signed up for the portal, but that's available. It has all types of information. It has scripts and everything that you're saying that you need.
But see, I think that's part of it right there. Is I did not know there was a portal, because
Okay, you may
that was
not be
not
on our
part of
list. Yeah,
any
we sent a
information I
list. We
got.
sent it. We sent it out to all the administrative officers. So what may have happened with your agency is you weren't updated with us, and we may have sent it to your previous person, and that's why you
Well,
didn't
we
get
are
it.
not, that's another funny thing. We're not in the legislation. as the supporting administrators for, so it's the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Committee Commission. And if you read the legislation, it does not mention DMPSJ anywhere, but somehow we do it. I don't think we're supposed to be doing it, but we do. So that would, it's one of those kind of like, oh, okay. But I think also like that's all public members, and they're not, none of them are trained in open meetings, and they don't know what they're doing for sure. The chair has no clue. So.
Well, that's supposed to be coordinated through Stephen Walker's office, because he has everyone's contacts. He knows when everything changes, and he contacts me, and we set up a training. So that's how it has happened in the past. I know things have gotten kind of screwy with COVID, but that's usually how it happens. So that the fact that we haven't had that training with Steve and Vega could be why a lot of folks haven't had training yet.
So maybe Nicole, you and Helen can hook up and talk, and we can try and help her out, because, and actually see if that commission or committee are subject to the Open Meetings Act. I know certain ones with regarding the information or not. So I don't know which one, but Helen, also the MOLC will gladly help you in like kind of a legal question. What if we, you know, and you know, the other Vanessa, the smarter Vanessa, she'll help, you know, we'll help you with that, because you are kind of coming in at the end of the movie over there, and we don't want you to mistakenly, you know, do anything, and you want you to help give you good guidance, especially for that committee or commission.
And Helen, I can contact you after this meeting. We can schedule a FOIA training for you, FOIA 101, as well as an Open Meetings Act training as soon as your schedule permits. So we can get started with you, and then after the training, we can coordinate on your committee or board and a follow-up. Since you're new, and that, as Nicole has stated, that's what we do. We educate and advise on FOIA as well as the Open Meetings Act.
That would be great. I mean, I'm definitely not new to supporting the committee or commission, whatever it is. I've been doing that all 4 years I've been here, but I am pretty new to FOIA. So yeah, both of those would be awesome.
And Cherie, whenever you schedule that with Helen, you know, according to Helen's schedule, just let me know. Maybe I can jump on.
Okay. Okay.
And Helen, reach out to me too. That would be probably a good starting point.
Sorry, I missed who was just speaking there.
Shelley.
Oh, Shelley, hi.
Be helpful to do that. Happy to chat.
Okay.
Okay, and Carly, we will invite Hillary as well. Thank you. And then anybody thinks anyone else should be invited, please just email us. Julia runs the show, and then, you know, we'll gladly put them on. I'm going to call out an old buddy, Renako Alsop. I just saw her jump in. Just want to say hi, Renako.
Hi, Vanessa. You're looking very lovely in red.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So Renako, we were talking about like some of the stuff we want to do to maybe help out, extend the deadlines, you know, or make them similar to what the federal FOIA is. And we know that's something that would help you. So I just want to let you know, we're going to look into that and put something together, hopefully.
That would be great. I also did I think a year or two ago, I did a white paper on the differences between the FOIA, the federal FOIA statute, and the district's FOIA statute. But you probably received it, your office did, but probably before you came on board, Vanessa. So
yeah, no, I'd love it if you could resend, and then I can share it with the gang over here. That would be really helpful.
Okay, that sounds good.
So maybe everyone, as we're kind of wrapping up, I'm trying to think of like homework or what, not really, we don't want to make it like homework, but like what you guys can think about. I'm gonna, Julia and I will get together and see what you guys all send us. Send us whatever you have, and then we can put it together and then put it on the next agenda and then send it out. And then maybe we can constructively go through some things. And then maybe I can put together what our recommendations are, excuse me, to the mayor for, you know, from our group. So we don't have to do that. And we can just kind of do it over the meeting, if that sounds okay to everyone. And, okay, so it seems like we're wrapping up now. Next steps. Our next meeting, are you guys okay with doing it virtually? And I'll check with Nicole if we can still do this virtually, because I'm happy to, hear and see the pandemic is over. So we can check on that if we can just, because I like it virtually. I think we get more people. And we'll give notice and we'll send it out. But I think this time might work better than our previous times of later on in the afternoon. So I will try that. So we'll let you know, unless you have a date, Julia.
Well, that would depend on if the group decides, or Vanessa, Madam Chair, if you decide if you want to meet quarterly or if you'd like to meet monthly. And so if it's monthly, we can do the same exact time frame for May. And if you'd like to do it quarterly, then my suggestion, unless folks have any objections, would be probably, within the next 3 months down, which would be put us
I
around.
actually, I mean, I don't know how you all feel considering this during your work days, but I think monthly, until we get something that maybe we can help each other with or submit to the mayor, even if it's not like a big dossier, because, we're still, I mean, I'm just thrilled that we actually have everyone here and we had a quorum. So I don't even really know what to say yet. I'm just so happy. So, let's shoot for a month and let's see if you guys can come in, and we'll take it from there. But we're going to put together some stuff to send out that we can discuss on our next meeting, if that's okay with everyone.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. It's so good to see you. I don't see you, Renako, but it's nice to see you on here. Yeah, we need OAG on here because they're actually the ones that actually defend us in these cases as well.
Great.
So I just want to thank everyone for coming today and these great thoughts. And I'm sorry, Nicole, that we kept torturing you, but I'll bug you later, and Cherie. But it's really been great talking to everyone, and we'll send out the next meeting. Julia will send that out. And please reach out to me or Julia if you want to include anything else on the agenda. We'll send something out and then maybe make it a draft and then see if we can adjust it. Okay? Thank you, everyone.
Vanessa, I'm sorry, you need to state the time before we.
I'm sorry. Wait, Earl, wait. It is 1:54 p.m. and that means it's 13:54 p.m. Or wait, do I say p.m. Army time?
No PM, just.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and it's 13:54 and we're closing this fantastic meeting. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Goodbye.